In an individual with this genotype, there's no combination of proteins that function together. So this incompatibility is expected to have some sort of an effect on the cell. This genotype typifies a pair of loci whose alleles interact in a recessive manner. Both loci must be homozygous for the incompatible alleles to produce a phenotypic effect. In this case, we might predict that at least partial function would be produced. These are other possible genotypes that might also have at least partial function. If, instead, these genotypes produce a dysfunctional cell, then the red and the blue mutations interact in a dominant manner, which is defined as a trait where only one copy of each incompatible allele must be present to cause dysfunction. Put another way, if an individual who is heterozygous at both interacting loci exhibits the effects of incompatibility, then the alleles dominantly interact. Using the protein interaction model you've seen here, it is more difficult to imagine how a dominant interaction might negatively impact a cell. One possible explanation is that the red and blue proteins somehow tangle together inside of the cell or otherwise interfere with the function of the cell, which could cause the cell to die for a reason totally separate from the original roles of these proteins in ATP production. If two alleles of different genes interact in a dominant manner, then many different genotypes, all where there is at least one red and at least one blue, would experience the effect of that genetic incompatibility. If we consider all 9 different combinations of red, blue, and the original gray alleles, only one genotype would suffer the effects of a recessive genetic incompatibility, but 4 could be affected by a dominant incompatibility in which at least one red and at least one blue allele are enough to cause an organismal effect. In sum, to determine whether a genetic incompatibility exists, we need to consider that the yet unstudied incompatibility could either be dominant or recessive, and each of those two possibilities leads geneticists to make a different prediction about which genotypes of individuals would be healthy and which would not.